Yeah, man, 40 years of gaming. Can you believe it? I will be 40 years old this year, and that is a long time to have been a gamer. When did the Nintendo release, by the way? That's really going to help me. October 18th, 1985. Yeah, just a year and 2 months younger than me. I'm a year and 2 months older than a Nintendo, which is crazy to think about. I had one for as long as I can remember. My parents must have bought one when I was brand new. And it's funny because like I never considered myself a gamer growing up, and I played games all the time. I had games. I had all the video game consoles. I had a Game Boy actually, maybe in my teenage years. I do remember once that I called the Fox Kids Network in my local area, and I won a Game Boy. It was a call in, just call in, 10th caller wins, something like that. But they asked me to tell them why I wanted one, and I panicked and hung up. So, missed out. I was like 8. I didn't think it was going to work. Um, I still have anxiety to this day to talk on the phone, which is funny because I got to do it all the time for my job. But yeah, I remember early talking, early playing video games. The game I can remember playing the earliest was Legend of Zelda Link's Awakening. No, the game I can remember playing earliest was Adventures of Link, Zelda 2, which is like the worst Zelda game according to everybody, but it was my Zelda game and I absolutely loved it. It was a side scroller. It would start overhead on the world map, and then whenever you entered a dungeon, it would be a side scroller. And I can remember getting to the first castle. It was always what I would do, get all the way to the boss, and then I would have my dad kill the boss because I couldn't do it. I remember I could get to a couple of other castles. If my dad was around, he might beat the boss for me. He might not. It was all kind of hit or miss. There was a save file because he was really far, and I used to play on his save file all the time, so I would go through Death Canyon and stuff like that. And I had a lot of fun doing that. It's a really good memory for me, and I have since played the game in my later life. I have seen it beat. I've seen people speedrun it, that sort of thing. It absolutely blows me away because I remember how hard it was for me growing up. And I will always probably cherish that memory. I'll always have that because that was my dad. He was such a hero for me because he could beat those bosses. And it's super funny to think about that. Why I didn't have Zelda 1, I don't know. What's funny is that like my favorite Link is actually Link's Awakening, which I messed up on my intro there and said Link's Awakening. Yeah, super funny because everyone always says Link to the Past probably, or Ocarina of Time. But yeah, I had good memories with that one too. But Zelda 2, man, never would have thought. I had a gold cartridge too, which is super cool. I have a good memory of Rampage, and I don't think I even owned Rampage, which is what's funny. But whenever I think back, way back in the day, Rampage always seems to come up. And I have that memory. I share it with my sister. I don't think she remembers this day, probably not. But I could remember we stayed up really late, and current me wants to say that it was like 1 a.m., but it might have just been like 11 or 12 or something maybe at best, because 1 a.m. was crazy late for me because I was only like 8, and I couldn't stay up that late. Like I just physically couldn't. It was impossible for me. I would be so tired I would have to go to bed. But I remember we stayed up super late and we got like super far, like level 100 or something like that. And I don't remember if we got caught or if we just went to bed. I just remember doing it, and me and my sister having so much fun and getting so far. And I don't even know how many levels were in the original Rampage. But yeah, I should ask my sister if she remembers that, because I'm curious if she does. I don't know if she does or not. I would love to see it. I'd love for her to tell me that, yeah, she does remember it. But, I don't know. It's whatever. I have really good memories about a game. I don't have a Discord, man. I'm sorry. I have a really good memory about a game called Sky Kid, which I'm gonna actually drag this over for everyone to see real quick. look at this game. It was awful, man. And it's just one of those games that I had. And when you're growing up like that, there's just not. You just kind of had what you had back then. And I don't know why we had this game. I don't know where it came from. I don't know who bought it. But Sky Kid was a game that I had. And it was cheap. And there was like nothing really to it. It got crazy hard really fast. Like after the first level, it was like impossible to get past level 2. But I did. I don't know how many levels were in that game. I still don't to this day. Because I never see anyone talk about this. This is one of those games that were like probably lost in time somewhere. And I would love to see more people talk about this game, but there's so little to it that, you know, that's probably never going to happen. It's never going to be one of the top Nintendo games to ever play or anything like that. But it's special to me because I owned it and I remember having it. And then I remember one of my friends' friends had it because my name was written on it, Kemper, but it got sold at a garage sale or something like that. I just told everyone my last name, which is probably not good, but there we go. Nintendo Zapper games. How many can you name? I can name 2. Duck Hunt and Gumshoe. And the only reason I can tell you Gumshoe was a Nintendo Zapper game is because I had it. And that game was hard. There would be enemies and you would have to zap them. You would have your main character and you would have to zap him to make him like float through the sky. And then it would be like balloons and stuff that you could shoot for extra points, I think. And I have vague memories of the first level of that game and always falling and always dying and the zapper gun never working. And it was hard. And that's another game that I never really see anybody ever talk about or play. But it was a game I had and I loved it. And I would love to... I watched a couple videos on it. It's not amazing, but... What was back then? I can tell you what was. Friday the 13th. What a game. I think that game stands out for me because one of my friends was like super good at it later in life. And when I say super good at it, I mean he just kind of knew what was going on. He didn't know where to go. He just kind of knew what to do. I know he knew to get the torch, and that would do a lot of damage to Jason. But yeah, that was like the first scary game I ever really played. And it used to scare the hell out of me because I was young and didn't really know what was going on. But it was a lot of fun, and I remember it had a wicked cool beat, and you know, there was a couple of good characters. That was it. I loved listening to it. Doo 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 doo. Yeah, that game has a soft spot in my heart. I don't like scary games, so you know, that's a lot of fun. The last Nintendo game I want to talk about is Track and Field. Did you ever hear Track and Field? It was for the Power Pad. I had a single friend that owned a Power Pad, and he was never allowed to have company inside his house. That's just how his parents were. Kids were to play outside, and that's what we did, like 99% of the time. But every once in a while, I would come over to play. He was like my first friend, too, that I ever had. Every once in a while, he lived like 3 houses away. He lived right around the corner from me. His parents would let us inside. And we would be allowed to get out his Power Pad, and we would play Track and Field. And essentially, you would just get the computer going, and you would race in one lane, and the computer would race in another lane. And you just had to run in place on the Power Pad, and whoever could run in place the fastest, you would beat the computer. When it got down to the final boss, there was two levels for every speed, and they'd use different animals for different speeds, like turtle or rabbit. There would be a straight race, and then there would be hurdles. And on the final race, it was cheetah. And we would get down and we would just hammer it with our fists because we couldn't run in place fast enough. And we would just run straight into all of the hurdles. And we would win that way because it was the only way we could win. And I don't know whatever happened to that friend. We lost touch. I don't know, before our teenage years. My parents divorced when I was like 12, so yeah, I don't know what happened to him, but I'll always remember Track and Field, and I'll remember playing that at his house. That was super cool. Like I said, growing up, I went from system to system, and obviously the next system after the Nintendo Entertainment System was the Super Nintendo Entertainment System. And go figure, Super Mario World was the first game that I think I ever beat. Likely because NES games were fucking crazy hard. They were super hard. And Super Mario World, I think, was actually designed with like the idea that people could beat it. Not to say that regular Mario is unbeatable. Lots of people beat that game, which I never have. And I want to venture back and I want to go through that because I think that would be a good idea to fucking play that game. I saw Ludwig do a stream where I thought he was going to beat it, but then he did a speed run on the first level for like 2 hours, which I felt was like a huge waste. He could have just tried speedrunning the game because you can beat it in like fucking, well, an expert can beat it in like 5 minutes, but I'm pretty sure he could have done it in under 10 if he ran through it enough times. Either way, Super Mario World is fun. It's the first game I think I ever beat. And I remember after having beat it, my sister laughed about it because all the worlds were named after food and she was making jokes. And that was super funny to me because me and my sister didn't get along growing up. We're best friends now, but growing up, she was my old sister and I was a little annoying brother and she used to beat me up and stuff. Yeah, Super Mario World. I also had Street Fighter 2 Turbo. I think that was the first Street Fighter game. I don't understand the Street Fighter timeline. I don't know what happened to Street Fighter 1. I think it exists, but yeah, Street Fighter 2 Turbo. And why it was Turbo, I don't know. There's also a Hyper Street Fighter 2 Turbo, or Street Fighter 2 Turbo Hyper, or something like that. Not what I'm talking about. The SNES version is just Street Fighter 2 Turbo. And yeah, I was really good at that game too. There was a star rank system for difficulty. I think there was 8 stars. I could do like 5 stars or something like that, maybe 6. I remember I was trying. I wrote a book about it when I was in elementary school because I was really good at it. And like my sister and my parents and shit, like they couldn't beat me at that game. I was super good. Of course, it was all just against the computer. It wasn't like any kind of tournament championship play. You got to remember at this point in time, I was probably 10. So, you know, not much to say about it. I had a lot of fun. I remember we used to like turn it on and we would act out like a soap opera between 2 characters. And it would always result in like people fighting over somebody else, or like, you know, Ken and Ryu were there and they're arguing because Chun-Li is his wife or something. And, you know, or Chun-Li was cheating on whoever and then he beats her up for it or something. Wicked shit, you know what I mean? But this is, you know, the mouths of babes, you know, what are kids gonna do? So weird. Mario Kart, the original Mario Kart. I remember playing that, and that was, of course, like, you know, a great game, and it's still hugely popular to this day. I don't really have much to say about Mario Kart that, you know, nobody can really say anything else about. We raced all the time. I played it all the time. I can't remember if I ever did more than 2 players. It was a lot of fun. I always, you know, highly regard Mario Kart. Even to this day, it's still a great game. One of the games I'm best at, honestly. But, yeah, it's Mario Kart. Everyone loves it. And if you don't, you're a fool. That's really just all the more I got to say about it. I have the Donkey Kong games listed as something that I remember from the SNES. Not hugely impactful. The music, if you've never heard Stickerbush Symphony or Aquatic Ambience, you're probably missing out. Greatest video game score, I think, in a long time. Absolutely love that game. I never played the third one, only the first 2, Donkey Kong Country and then Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy Kong something, I can't remember the name. Loved those. Played Diddy Kong Racing too, which, you know, I was never good at. Diddy Kong Racing was incredibly hard. I saw somebody do speedruns for that as well, which I just never understood, but I couldn't do it. That game had zero fucking chill, man. If you messed up one time, you lost that fucking race. It was crazy to me. I was the owner of a Super Scope. Can you believe that? I don't know how many people have Super Scopes, and I don't think I've ever heard anyone really ever discuss the Super Scoopers. I don't think I ever heard anyone really ever discuss this Super Scope. There was a game that came with the Super Scope called Super Scope 6. I want to say that there was a few games. There was a game where you could shoot missiles. There was a game that was like Tetris where you could flip blocks to change like their colors. There was a game, it was like a counting game. It was like Sideways Tetris. And there was a game, I can remember, where you would shoot gophers when they would pop up out of the ground, out of little holes. I don't remember if there were any other games. There was like a Gundam game. You would fight different like Gundams. Or it might have been the bomb game too. I can't recall. But I had a lot of fun with that. I remember I used to take it over to some of my other friends' houses, like my parents' friends that had kids my age. I would take it over and play with them and shit. The Super Scope, man, probably deserved to be way cooler than it was. But, you know, these things happen, such is life. I look back on it with fond memories, and I think that's kind of the point. Moving generationally, I guess I don't really have anything else to say about the SNES. Those were the top games for me, I think. Then, moving forward, we head into 64 territory, though. Obviously, it was first to last list, and it's going to be the first of this one. Mario 64. I had 119 stars in Mario 64. I want to get this off my chest right away. I don't know what that 120th star was, and one day, I'm hoping to one day go back and find all 120 stars, because I don't know what I missed. I know there's speed runs out there now. It's a huge game. It's hugely popular to speed run, especially different rankings. I know there's a 16 star. I'm pretty sure there's a 120 star, and people are super good at it. I would like to be better at it. I don't know if I would probably have to get an N64 and figure out how to set all that up with my computer. But man, what a cool game. I need to fix that. 120 stars. That chaps me up when I think about it. I was a GoldenEye fan. I want to say that there were two kind of pools to sit in. One was GoldenEye. One was Perfect Dark. A lot of people said either one or the other. Perfect Dark can fuck off and I will fight you. I don't care about that game at all. GoldenEye was for me. Me and my friends used to do the speed runs on every level. We used to try our best. We would always try to beat each other's times. We played multiplayer so often. And it was like kind of the first game I remember ever having like tournament style play with. Because like all of my friends would be like ready to go. Loser always passed the controller, that kind of thing. But it would be like at other people's houses and there would be like 20 of us. And, you know, I was fucking good, man. I never passed my controller. I just want to say. I don't know if I'm still that good to this day, but I do stand by my ability to play. And I bet if I were to play enough, I could break the rust off, and I could probably still be really good at it. Next game I have shown is Ocarina of Time. Everybody, I think, loved Ocarina of Time. It was a huge introduction to a lot of people for Zelda. I have fond memories of it. Playing it at my sister's house. I think that was the first place I ever played it. I don't know why she had a 64 separate from me. My sister was older than me, so she had moved out at the time. But I remember playing it there, and I remember playing it for like hours. I got to a couple of different... I think I got to like the water temple. I don't know, man. And like I was sitting there all day playing it. I had a lot of fun. I remember I went out and bought it. I remember one of my friends actually found all the Skulltulas, which is like super cool. He also found all the heart pieces as well, which I don't think I did either of those things. I did beat it multiple times. I did, you know, my fair share of playthroughs because you were limited on games back then. And being one of the games that I had, I obviously played it. I played a wrestling game a lot too back then. I can't remember which one it was. NWO versus WCW, I think. Oh man. And Mario Kart 64. I have Mario Kart 64 on my list as well. This is actually my final N64 game. I don't know why I can't think of very many other games that I played. I know I played like the first Smash Brothers and stuff like that, but yeah, Mario Kart 64 is a game that I played even well into adulthood. One of my friends kept his 64 like over the years, and even as recently as just a few years ago, we were playing. He used to be my neighbor. I wound up in life, one of my best friends being my neighbor, and we would play Mario Kart 64, and I was fucking good. And I should probably try to see how I compare competitively in that game, because like I could win like every round, every match, no matter what. Like, if we played that shit religiously. So I would love to see like what it would take to hone my skill and actually play competitively. And this is like no cheats. We didn't do skips and shit like that. We would just play straight through. But aiming shots with shells and, you know, where to place bananas and fucking just timings and shit. Golden, man. I was great at that game. I absolutely love Mario Kart 64. And I would love to keep going with it. This is it, man. Final Fantasy VII, my first PlayStation game. This is the game that I think made me a gamer. I don't think this came out until I was about 14 or 15. And even then, this is late 90s. I don't think that people really thought in terms of gamers back then. There was still a stigma behind video games. You know, it was kind of breaking loose a little bit, but it wasn't a huge thing that people invested a lot of time in. And I time sank Final Fantasy VII. I maxed out the timer so many times. I did everything there was you could do in that game. Leveled every materia to max. I bred a gold chocobo. Actually, the only thing I never did was defeat the ruby weapon. And that still stinks. I hate thinking back on that. I tried every strategy I could think of, and I tried every materia that I could think of. And I looked at the Brady Games guides. So before the internet, we used to have to use magazines, and they used to seal the magazines too. But you could always find one in the store that was open. Somebody would always open one. But I would flip through the Brady Games guides and try to look. And I don't know why I was never able to beat him. That's the only thing though. Did everything else in that game. And that is the game that, when I think back on what game made me a gamer, it was that one. Because I didn't know I could be so invested in characters, or that a storyline could be so cool. I didn't know a game could be like that. And it's funny because you'll hear fucking older people talk about thinking back on games. Because if you look at like Final Fantasy VII Rebirth and stuff, like people always, they'll say like, when I think back on Final Fantasy, that's what the graphics looked like to me. And it's true in my head. Like, I know it was polygon hell, but I loved it. And, you know, that game led me into other games. It led me straight through the Final Fantasy series. And it's funny because I played 6 before this. 3 in the US on the SNES. I played that one a few times. Never to the end or anything, but I did enjoy it. But yeah, 7 all the way through, 8 all the way through, especially the Triad card game. Absolutely loved that card game. And if I remember nothing else from 8, I will always remember how much fun I had running to literally every person and playing that game. 9, I played almost scene for scene with one of my friends on the telephone. And basically we would just sit there. I guess I should probably do it like this because it's how kids talk. But we would talk on the phone and just like go like, I'm going to the next screen. All right, I'm going to the next screen. All right, I'm through all this dialogue. And then like the only time we would really break is like we're starting to get beat in battles a lot. So it's like, all right, let's spend the next, you know, rest of the night fucking leveling. We'll meet back up tomorrow at like whatever level. And that's what we would do. And we played that game almost scene for scene. And I don't really talk to that friend very much anymore. But I will have that memory with him forever, you know. It's not going anywhere, I don't think. I have Resident Evil 2 on my list. Resident Evil 2 was another game that me and a couple of my friends got competitive with, and I don't really know how this came about, but there was 3 of us. And my same friend that had Friday the 13th is the one who actually beat me on Resident Evil 2. And it's funny when I think about it, because at the time I still had a bedtime, and I remember he called me. It was 10 o'clock, and it was like 10:15 or something, and he called, and my dad answered the phone, because obviously I wasn't allowed, and he was like, yeah, he can't talk right now, it's bedtime. And he goes, oh. And he gave me the phone, just so my friend could like tell me that he beat it. And I was like, what? How? Because like I was ahead of him up to that point. I couldn't beat William Birkin at the end. The final fight before you go down the elevator and get on the train, I just couldn't beat him. And he told me that he did it with a regular shotgun. I had to save right where you picked up the shotgun parts, and I had to go back to that save, run past the shotgun parts, redo all of the Umbrella Corporation, and I was able to kill William Birkin like that, like after he told me. And yeah, I know there's a remake. I haven't played the remake of Resident Evil 2. I plan on it. It's actually on the list of games that I'm going to play. But yeah, we'll see how that works out. Like I said, I'm not a huge fan of scary games. I don't know why they're not for me, so it should be a lot of fun whenever I get around to that game. Yeah. Yeah, I loved it though. I did love Resident Evil 2. I used to run right through there. I remember my brother-in-law talking to me about it because, like, the beginning, I played the beginning so many times that I would just run through with like just a knife because I wanted to save all my ammo for, like, you know, everything. And you could get the different clothing outfit if you didn't kill or didn't shoot your gun at all, I think, or didn't kill a single zombie up until you got to the police station. I don't remember what the code was, but yeah, that was a lot of fun. Shadow of the Colossus is a game that I know is well remembered, and it was a beautiful game with a beautiful, sad storyline. And I played this game when I was in the Marine Corps. I actually played this game late. I played this game, it was probably closer to 2006, the end of 2006 when I played it. But I do remember it, and when I think back on my PlayStation game days, this is a game that stands out. I don't really have a lot to say about it, you know. I was so sad at the end. Like, I felt so unfulfilled with the end of the game. I was devastated. I'm like, damn it. Like, all that fucking work. But you accomplished your goal at the same time. You know what I mean? What a fucking wild thing. What a wild game. What a beautiful game. I hope they continue to update this game. Because it was good, man. It was a good one. The next game is a game that nobody ever talks about, and I'm actually going to share it on this screen real quick. And it's a game called Lifeline. And look at this fucking thing. Oh no, man. Lifeline. So the thing about this game that you got to remember is basically it starts off, think like the Die Hard movie, if you ever watched Die Hard. Huge party, top of Nakatomi Plaza. And then everything goes south. That's the only way I can think. I think aliens are what shows up or something like that. But essentially, the main character is a female. And she's in the break room or something like that. You are a character that is a guard for this building, and you are in the guard room. And essentially what you have to do is you have to help the character navigate through the halls and navigate through the building via a headset. And in this headset, I mean, you tell her, shoot left leg, shoot right leg, dodge right, turn around, that sort of thing. There's a whole bunch of commands you could give her. And it's super frustrating because the technology was not there for this game. Yeah, Lifeline though. Super frustrating. If you ever look into this game, the technology wasn't there for it. So there's a few playthroughs I watched actually just trying to think about what this game was called. And it's as frustrating as it looks when streamers play it. Because they'll be like, shoot left eye, shoot left eye, shoot left eye, shoot left eye, turn around, ah! And that's like, there's nothing else they could really do about it. Oh, fuck. Lifeline. What a wild game. And I don't remember how it ends. I think I remember it ended by, like, you and the main character getting together. Like, they finally met. You finally met outside, like, in the security room or at the party or something. I don't remember if it was aliens or, like, gene mutations. I don't remember. I'm looking at these screenshots and it's not fucking helping at all. Images. It's not even screenshots. It's just, I mean, whatever. What a fucking game. I remember you could make her bark like a dog, too. That was funny. Fucking game. Oh, shit. PlayStation games. Need for Speed is specifically Need for Speed 3 Hot Pursuit. That was my favorite Need for Speed game. There was a bunch of Need for Speed games out there. And for whatever reason, I recall that one just playing better or having a better something. I don't really know what it was about it, but it stands out in my mind when I think back about my PlayStation game days. Typical racing game. I never got into Gran Turismo. I know that was a big one. And, frankly, Gran Turismo fucking sucked. That was boring. And I didn't like it. I didn't care for it. But Need for Speed was fun, man. I used to race the shit out of that game. And speaking of racing games, Road Rash. Road Rash is another one of those games that I never hear people talk about. And that game was fucking wicked fun. I loved playing that game. And specifically, I just remember always getting the 2x4. I was unstoppable with the 2x4. I mean, I know you could have like a bat. I know you could have a chain. Maybe there was a knife or something. I don't remember. But I know if I had a 2x4, man, I was unstoppable in that game. I'd just be clubbing people and winning. And that was so much fun. And I wish more people talked about Road Rash. But I don't think there's really more you can say about it because, I mean, essentially that's what the game was. Same with Same with Need for Speed Hot Pursuit. You just ran from the cops and raced. That was it. You just raced in Road Rash too. Except you got to club some people. And it's funny because that was actually the last PlayStation game I was going to talk about. And I don't really remember which ones were PlayStation 1 and PlayStation 2. It's such a fucking haze, I guess, in my mind to think back on those things. So I think most of these were probably PlayStation 1 games. But I do remember when I transitioned into Xbox because Xbox, I only ever played... Well, I played a couple of different Xboxes, but the only Xbox I ever personally owned was the original Xbox. And I stand by this to this day. One of my favorite games that I ever played was a game called Freedom Fighters. And Freedom Fighters was essentially Red Dawn in New York or something like that. And I think it was Russia specifically attacked. And you were like a plumber like in New York and you and your brother got separated or something. And you wind up in the sewers and you wind up having to like gain charisma and you start doing missions and you could have some followers with you. And you would have like checkpoints to kind of get to and that sort of thing. And I think it was a third person shooter game, kind of. There was a weird dynamic to it that it was just so much fun. You could do like different paths, I think. Man, what a super cool game. And I never hear about it. I never hear people talk about playing it. And it bothers me to never hear people talk about playing it because I fucking enjoyed that game so much. And I know that there was a updated release on Steam, I think, because it was made in 720p. All the way back in 2005 or whatever when it was released. So I might have to double check that game again one day as well because that game was a whole fucking ton of fun. And I hope that it plays as well as I remember because, again, I think back super fondly on it. It's the only real Xbox game that, like, I can remember and call, like, my game for the Xbox. Another Xbox game that I can remember playing was Burnout 3. I don't know about Burnout 1 or 2, and Burnout 3 specifically is an odd point in my life. And as you grow, you kind of run into odd points, right? And this was when I was in the Marine Corps when I first played this game. And I remember I was actually engaged to a girl while I was in the Marine Corps. Sort of easiest way to explain it was just my high school sweetheart. And I was back from Iraq, and I was with her. Back from Iraq the first time, back from Iraq before Iraq the second time. I don't remember. Either way, I remember being with her. She owned or lived in a townhome with her sister. And they both were at work. So I was essentially there all day by myself. And of course, I just played video games. And this was the game I happened to have. And I would race, and I would wreck into people, and I would race more. And I got super far into it. Never beat it. But again, just thinking back on that time in my life, like it was a happy memory. and it stands out. It's something that I don't think will ever go away. And it's really funny too to think about that game because whenever I think about my ex, I think about Fable. And Fable, of course, was a huge game. There was 3 of them. I only remember playing the first one. And I remember I picked it up. I didn't have any kind of real knowledge on what the game was. Advertising was different back then, and being in the Marine Corps, I never heard. I didn't watch TV back then, and they don't talk about video games on the fucking radio or anything like that. So I just kind of saw it, and I was looking at it, and I thought it looked pretty cool. And I went to go buy it. When I was checking out, the cashier was a woman, and she just asked me typical kind of questions like, did you find everything okay? Like, you doing okay today? Like, whatever. And I went on my way, right? And my girlfriend was freaking the fuck out on me because how dare I talk to some other girl, So it's only, no wonder why that relationship really didn't work out, because that was just fucking crazy. But yeah, Fable was a super cool game, and I can remember 2 things from Fable. One, everyone calling me Chicken Chaser because I ran around fucking kicking a bunch of chickens and shit. Because I was thinking like Ocarina of Time or a Link to the Past or whatever, where you attack all the chickens and they all come fucking flying out and fucking you up. And so I did that. I kicked a bunch of chickens or whatever to see if I could get that going, and it just made people call me Chicken Chaser for like the next 75% of the game. I think I wound up at the arena. There was like an arena, and I got a different title from that. And then the other thing that I remember is that I had a beautiful haircut that gave my beauty or something like the max stat, and I had a scary wolf tattoo on my face that made my scary stat like maxed. And so whenever you go to a different town, the townspeople, like, you have renown in the game or something like that, and they would run up to me and like they would get either a huge heart or a wedding ring because they were in love with me, and they would be like, "Oh, he's so beautiful." Ah! And they'd fucking tear ass running away from me because they were so fucking scared of me. Oh shit, what a fucking game, man. I absolutely loved that game. That's such a funny thing to think back on. God, what a good memory. And I'll always laugh about that whenever I think about it. Doom 3 is on my list of games that I remember. And I remember this game specifically for one reason. Well, I guess kind of 2. Which is, one's a funny just thought that I randomly have. One of those thoughts you have to yourselves. And that one is actually, nothing special, because like I just remember one time I loaded it back up. I was like, I'm going to go kill the final boss again. And I think there was a reason for it. I just don't remember what it was. I wanted to see like the final end scene or something like that. And I logged in. I hadn't played the game for like 4 months. And I was rusty. I was so rusty that I couldn't kill the boss. And I killed the boss like my first time I ever played it. Because I was fucking so zoned in. I'd been snapped in for like, however long it took me to get to that point. I just played the fuck out of that game. And there was one point, that was the one story. But the other story I remember thinking about whenever I played Doom 3 was I was in the zone, dude. I was in there. I was fucking playing. I was fucking just getting some. And it was funny because I had a fucking stand-up kind of desk. And essentially, like, that was my world. It would lock. I had doors on it that would lock. The military, it was like a dormitory room or something. So, like, I had my TV set up in there with my Xbox and my PlayStation shit. And, like, that's all I could see. I had 2 roommates, and they were both in the room. I don't know what was going on that day. It must have been, like, a field day, which is a day where you just got to clean the whole barracks or whatever. But neither me or my friends were slobs, so we would clean in, like, an hour, and we'd be done for the fucking day. And our room would be spotless, and people would be like, "How do you do that?" And it's like, just clean up after yourself every fucking day, you nasty fuck. But yeah, people were coming, they were talking to us, shit like that, in and out of the room. And one of my friends walked up and grabbed my shoulders, and I fucking chucked my controller and just went backwards in my fucking chair. And yeah, scared the shit out of me. I was not ready for him to touch me. And I was just like, scary shit was happening on the game. Maybe I do like scary games. I don't know. Maybe I should fucking be a scary game streamer. That'd be something. But no, that was a lot of fun. And, you know, I would hope to do that again one day. Man, I should talk to that guy. I should call him, see what he's up to. Last game for Xbox that was hugely impactful for me was Halo 2. I played Halo 2 for the first time when I was on a Navy ship. This was probably circa 2005, end of 2005, somewhere around there, beginning of 2006. On a Navy ship, we had I can't remember the type of cord it was, 56K, a phone cord basically. It went through the wall because there was a group of people on the other side of the wall that were also Marines. They were our friends and stuff. I knew who they were. They also had an Xbox, and essentially what we would do was just play 8-player Halo all day and all night because there was nothing for a Marine to do on ship except be out of the fucking way. And we essentially lived in that room that we were in, and that's really all we did. We would wake up and play the game, wake up, go to sleep, watch movies, go to sleep, go eat dinner, whatever it was. I would wake up sometimes, and like our other people would wake up. And they would ask you what time it was. And, you know, you could tell them like, oh, it's 3 o'clock. And they'd go, AM or PM? And you would be completely fucking stumped. Because you would not fucking know. Because time didn't fucking matter for us on that ship. And that's the fucking craziest thing. The craziest position to have ever been in. Because I just didn't fucking know. And, you know, we would have to open up the doors. Like we were in like a special part of the ship where we kept all the weapons because I was in armor, and so like we'd have to open up the doors and see if like the night lights were on, you know what I mean, shit like that, because we wouldn't fucking know. Are we gonna eat breakfast or are we gonna go eat dinner? I have no idea. So that was fun, but yeah, 8-player Halo, we did that nonstop, and I got super fucking good. And you would see people come in. And we would always switch out controllers if there was too many people wanting to play. Lowest score, fucking pass or controller. And you would run in and die, and you would run in and die, and you would run in and die. But as you progressed, eventually you got better and better and better, right? And that's just how that free-for-all style gameplay worked. And you would see people come in at the beginning of the week who couldn't do shit. And by the end of the week, you know, they're fucking wheeling and dealing just like everyone else. And, yeah, that was a lot of fun. I loved playing Halo 2. And internet stuff was just starting to get popular. I want to say people did Halo online back then. But I never did. I didn't have the internet to do it with, so never got to experience that. Which sucks, but, you know, such is life. You move on. You grow up. All right. We're getting into a weird section of my life at this point, and I am trying to pull up a file. Perfect. Just to try to keep myself on track. When I get to the PlayStation 3 era, it's kind of a weird point in my life. After Xbox, PlayStation stuff, was when I fell into World of Warcraft for the first time. That was 2007. It was actually August of 2007. It was my birthday present to myself because I bought that game. Because one of my friends was telling me how fucking cool it was and how much fun he was having, and he just wanted more people to play with. And I was like, all right, you know, I'll check it out. I like video games. And I played World of Warcraft, and for the second time in my life, I didn't know a game could be like that. And I essentially almost exclusively played World of Warcraft after that for years. I would stop and I would go back, and I would stop and I would go back. Even to this point, I still keep most of my characters all leveled and upgraded. This is really the first expansion where I haven't leveled any of my alts. I have an alt of every class, and I haven't done that yet. And I don't know if I will. I should probably look into that. but I don't want to wind up just exclusively being a World of Warcraft content creator or streamer. I don't want to lock myself down just to one game. And I could play World of Warcraft forever. There's, 10 different games involved in that one game. You could do fucking PvP, you could do PvE, you could do achievements, you could do the auction house, old content, new content stuff, just, all sorts of things out there to get into in that game, which I think is what the big thing is that kind of kept it running all these years and what keeps it going. It's not really a bad game. I also played League of Legends, circa season 2, I think around 2012. I got into League of Legends for a little while. That account actually wound up getting banned. I was actually away for work in DC. I had logged in, I had played a game, my account was compromised and I didn't know. I got botted, my account was botted and it was banned for bot activity, obviously. I sent out an email and I'm like, hey, I'm like in DC actually is where I was in Washington, DC. And I was like, I'm not, I'm obviously not playing, like, I don't know what happened. And they were like, okay, cool, like we reset your shit. And I'm like, okay, fine. And I didn't log in immediately, like online or whatever, to go change that. And of course, the bot just reactivated that night, and I got permabanned on that account, so it's gone forever. I have an ARAM account. I don't know if I even remember the login or password for it, so whenever League of Legends comes around, I'll probably just have to start anew. Yeah, because I know League of Legends is on my list of games to play as well. League of Legends was big. I did play, I played Fallout 3 on the PlayStation 3. I had a lot of fun with that. I played Black Ops 2, I think, for sure. A couple of Call of Duties. I was pretty big on those back in the day. Nothing really, of note there. I know the Call of Duty franchise is still running. I don't play any current first-person shooters. Wouldn't mind getting into some of them. I know I've watched a few. They look like fun, but, where am I going to go? I don't have any idea. Yeah, that's it, man. 40 years of gaming. This is where I've landed. It's fun, and I haven't even talked about every single game that I played, or just kind of most of them. I got real big on Pokemon, the original. I had Pokemon Red, and so of course I went with a Blastoise. I'm sorry, a Squirtle, and I got it upgraded though eventually, which was a hard, difficult thing to do back then. But big on that. I played, Link's Awakening was my favorite Zelda game, and that one was on Game Boy, which is super funny to think about. All kinds of games out there, and there's so many that I missed too, and that's why I really want to get involved in more games, and I want to try to build up my gaming repertoire so I can talk more about good games and fun games and classic games and stuff like that, because I really enjoy video games. They've obviously been a part of my entire life. I've grown up playing them. I will play them with my kids. Maybe I'll even play them with grandkids one day if I'm ever able to get grandkids. They saw me through a lot of trauma in my life. It might have been a form of escapism, both in my childhood and post-Iraq war veteran kind of stuff. But they've been there. I've lived 1,000 lives. It was a huge tattoo back in the day. You saw people, they would get like a book or something, or a video game controller, and it said, I lived 1,000 lives. And I have lived 1,000 lives playing all the different games that I've played. And, it's helped round me off and given me, good guidance and somewhere to be. And I've had so much fun doing it, and I look forward to doing it for even more. The future of games, I think, will be super cool. Maybe AI development will come along and do even better. I think VR gaming could be really cool. Just give it a few more years. I'm sure we'll come across really cool VR gaming in our lifetimes. So I look forward to that. And yeah, that's kind of it. That's my story, I think. Just one of many. I think about, my friends sometimes. I remember I had a friend, he was talking to me specifically about WoW, and he was just like, I wish I had, a different world to go into and stuff like that. And it's funny because, like, the only game I can ever really remember him playing and being super involved with was the first Assassin's Creed game, which I'm currently playing right now as of the recording of this video. I just started it. And the original Zelda game. Those are the only two games I can remember him ever really playing. But it's funny because, like, that kind of makes me wonder, like, how many other, wannabe gamers, I don't want to say wannabe, but how many other people out there, potential gamers, are there? Or how many gamers are there that don't make videos and don't talk about gaming, but still love it, and it's hugely impactful on their lives? I think that sort of stuff is fun to think about. And, yeah, I wish them all the best. And I wish you the best. I hope that your gaming careers and gaming extravaganzas take you far and you're happy with all of your choices. I should have more videos and we should have more discussions. I think it'll be a lot of fun, and I'm really, really looking forward to it. So, yeah, until then, have fun, good luck, and good game. I'll see you guys.